You're going already?
Yeah.
Okay. What I am doing here is I've got an idea to use a new material that I found on the market that can give the same or better performance than aircraft plywood in thin dimensional sheets. And so what I've done is I've thought about using it as a skinning material for wings of large gliders. It comes in various thicknesses, so it should work on gliders up to 3, 4, 5, 6 meters, but it'll also work on small chuck gliders. There's one of the offerings that this company has is near 1/64 of an inch. And so I'm thinking of a small chuck glider, and I thought, well, what kind of materials do I want to use to build that wing? And to make it fast to build so that young people can build them at a low cost and relatively quickly, is I'm just going to produce a set of parts today or over the next few days where I'm going to use that sheet material as the lower and upper skins of a wing, and I'm going to take a piece of spruce or pine, doesn't really matter, balsa, and I'm going to plane it so that it tapers from the tip being thinner to the thicker root section as a spar. The wing will taper similarly, proportionally. And then I thought for my leading edge, since I want to be able to glue the leading edge down onto that material and use a series of hand clamps, I can bend that as I can this, almost any dowel this diameter. This is about a just under 3/16 bamboo barbecue skewer for doing marshmallows. And then I've also got some birch dowel that's sold as 3/16 by 48, which bends just as easily to make the curve of my wings. So this material is laser cuttable and etchable. So what I want to do is have a flat so that when I apply this down and clamp it, that this sets down and makes a portion of the leading edge on its flat side. So it requires minimal sanding to get a good clean airfoil and entry point on that profile. And then on the top, I'm just going to bring it over that spar that's going to be behind this and just glue it down. And I think I'll just use an orbital sander to make my leading edge and be able to sand the sheeting material directly into that top of the spar and just round it over and let it thin up as it goes over. So anyway, excuse me. What I've done is I've cut a groove in a piece of plywood. And this is a method that's pretty common in, I found it or have seen it in the woodworking magazines like Fine Woodworking, where guys will make a V-notch by using either a router bit or a table saw set to a 45-degree angle to make a 45-degree notch. And by dropping a dowel into that, it holds it safely to be able to machine it in several different methods, whether it be machining it with a hand plane or running it through a joiner, planer, whatever, to be able to flatten the surface of a round piece without it being difficult or dangerous. So I've got this piece snapped in there. It's got a little bit of a bend to it. So what I did is I found, if I put it in just however, that it's going to stick up on one end, so I rotate it down until it fits tight in the notch. And then if you can see here, back to the Fine Woodworking magazine, I can use a flathead wood screw. The bevel of it acts as a stop. It's underneath the level of my plane. It's underneath the level of the board. I'm just underneath that surface level there. You can actually file and sharpen that edge so it bites in, and it's going to hold it tight. And then I've got 3 different hand planes that I've collected and used over the years. One is called the Stanley Squirrel Tail Plane, perfect for modeling. If you can find one of these, there's also one that does not have the squirrel tail on it. This kind of helps you to push it because it sits up in the palm of your hand. The blade is manually adjustable. By loosening this knob here, I can change the depth of my cut. I can gauge the depth of the cut by using a piece of material, or I can just eyeball it by looking down the length of the blade. This is called the lever cap right here because it acts as a lever. If I take this out, you can see that it's got some shavings in it. You can see that the cap has a groove in it that sets against this dowel that's peened into the sides of the plane there. I've kind of dressed this one. See, it's got a little bit of surface rust. But if you find one like that, you can dress it by putting a piece of sandpaper. As a matter of fact, we'll just do it. Use wet and dry automotive type bodywork sandpaper. Actually, we'll do it right here on the cast iron because that's pretty much dead flat. And you can actually lap the sole of the plane. This is the sole, the toe, the heel, and take out any imperfections and make sure it's flat. Look, it's even got a little button here that you can put your finger in to help control that plane. These planes, probably made in the 30s, have better iron in them. The cast iron was much, much better than what you can buy today in a plane for the same amount of money, so it's worth checking to see if you can find one of these. I've already sharpened this blade. You can see that it cuts into my thumbnail. We'll go over that at a different time, but basically you always want the bevel to be facing, let's see if I can do this. You want the bevel to be trailing, not leading. So I'm just going to put that in. We'll put the lever cap in there first. The blade's going to sit underneath it with the point leading, the bevel following. I can just stick that in there, let it hang out the bottom. Put the lever cap in here. I can basically get it rough adjusted by just pushing up on this to hold it, pin it in place. Set it on wood. Never set these down on a metal surface once you've taken the time to sharpen your blade. You can see you can change the angle of it to match your grind on your blade. And then I'm going to just tighten this up just a little bit. And then essentially I can just take a piece of paper and stick in there and drop that out. Because if you look at it now, you can see I need to adjust it just a little bit. With just a little tension, you can see that I can angle that blade back and forth without it falling out. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull it down till I'm only taking maybe a few thousandths of an inch. Get it even on both sides. I'll show you this from another angle to make the flat on this. And then I'm going to tighten that down and just snug it up. And what I do is I sight along it like this. And you can see that shine of that blade sticking up. If I rock that back and forth, you can see that blade is slightly above the sole of the plane. Okay, now for this dowel that I'm going to flatten on one side, there's a lower surface of the leading edge. Make sure this is clean. I'm just going to cut a flat. I'm going to probably remove, I would say just a little bit over a 32nd of an inch. Okay, so I'm just going to take a stroke now. Actually, let's just see if we can get a good cut from it this way. I'm going to angle it slightly or skew it to the side. And you can see I've got a nice shaving off of that. Okay, I don't want this to rotate. Also, I'm not going to use this plane to do it because this plane is short-bodied. Another plane, this is a Stanley number 9.5. My brother-in-law found this at a garage sale for $5 and sent it to me as a gift. It's got nickel plating on it. It's got high-quality knurling. It's got patterns put into it. You know this is an old plane when you see it. It's got an adjustable mouth. You can loosen this knob right here, rotate this lever back and forth, and it will change the gap between the front of the blade and the toe of the plane. Okay, that's your gap or your mouth. The smaller the mouth, the less chatter, and the finer the cut you can take without tearing out the wood. So this is good plane for doing end cuts on hardwoods, and it'll be ideal for this.